It's cold and rainy today, so we decided to make some everything bagels, and while they are rising, we will give you a tour of the cabin, and we're going to check our buckets for sap because the weather has been great lately and the sap is really flowing. So we're going to start with 2 1/4 cups of warm water, which I have over here warming up. That is perfect. So we'll take that. We'll just add this to this bowl. We need 4 teaspoons of honey. And then 1 tablespoon of yeast. Okay, so we'll just let that sit there. This needs about 5 or 10 minutes to kind of let the yeast bloom, so I'll put it back over here actually. That can stay warm. I'm just using regular white all-purpose flour. I guess you could use whole wheat or bread flour, but I like the white. So we're going 5 3/4 of a cup of the white bread flour or white all-purpose flour. Okay, 5 3/4. Just put a bit of salt in there too, about 3/4 of a teaspoon. I like to count how many turns of salt I do because I'm weird like that. This is about 15. So it's been about 5-10 minutes. I'm just going to check on the yeast. I did check on it about halfway through and I gave it a stir. Yeah, so it's nice and foamy now. So just add that right in there. So just mix it up until a ball of dough starts to form. And then we'll flour the table and dump it on there, and then we'll knead it about, I would say, anywhere between like 10, 15 or 15 to 20 times. So that's enough there already. Just when it starts to come together a bit. So we'll dump it out here. It's a little bit wet on the bottom, but that's okay because there's lots of dry flour in the middle that'll be worked into it. So that was exactly 15, and that looks pretty good to me. It all came together pretty nice, actually. It's a nice looking ball of dough. So now I'll just kind of scrape the rest of the stuff out of this bowl. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on it and roll the ball around so it's coated. And then we'll cover it with saran wrap and we'll leave it for about 60 to 90 minutes. And we'll just set it by the fire because it's nice and warm there, so it should rise really well. And then we'll come back and check on it. So just a little bit of oil. That's lots. You can just kind of move the bowl around. It should go around the whole bottom. And then when we put the dough in, I like to put the ugly side down. This side's really nice. This side's got all the lines kind of where I folded it together. Put it ugly side down. Cover the whole thing. Ooh. So it's nice and covered all the way around. It's nice and greasy on the top there. And then we will just cover with saran wrap and we'll set it by the fire for an hour and a half. Mostly just want it to double in size. So it might not take that long, it depends. The fire's pretty warm, so it might be a little sooner than that. Put it on this one. So I'll put it on the second shelf here since it's not super close. I don't want it to be hot. I don't want to start cooking the bottom. That's why I'm not putting it on this one. So I'll just put it here and then we'll come back and check in about an hour, hour and a half.
Ready, Stella.
We're back, so it's been about an hour, hour and a half-ish. The dough has risen nicely. It's about doubled in size, and it's time to get going on the second part of making the bagels. So I just left some of the flour on the table here because I knew we were going to need some. So I'll just add a little bit more. We have the oven preheating right now. It's at 425. And I put a pot of water above the stove, the wood stove, so it could start warming up because we will be boiling the bagels. Just move it there so we can get a little bit hotter. Okay. So we're going to cut the dough in half, roughly. We'll eyeball it in half. And I kind of just like to make it into like a log shape. I find it easier to cut like that. I'm going to do 12 bagels, so I'll cut each into 6. I'm going to do 7 out of this one because this one's a little bit bigger. Okay, so you want to get your tray ready that you're going to bake them on. Our oven is not wide enough for a tray, so we are using cast iron pans. And then you're going to want to put parchment paper on each tray. I also like to sprinkle a little bit of cornmeal on the bottom. This is ground cornmeal. It just makes the bottom of the bagel a little bit more crispy. So basically what you do is you take your ball of dough and you just kind of shape it into the shape of the bagel that you want. And then you're just going to put a hole in the center of it. So they're not perfect. My bagels never look the same, but we'll let it rise before it goes in the water, and then once it goes in the water, it'll get a little bit bigger as well. So again, my bagels are never the same shape or size. I don't know what's going on with this one. It's kind of long. Oh well. That one's going to be skinny. That was a bit sticky, so I'm just going to get a bit more flour on the outside of it. And then we'll just take a tea towel and we'll just cover them up and let them rise for about 5 minutes or so while we wait for the water to finish boiling. I'm just going to move the water back onto the stove here because this is where we're going to be doing the cooking. So you're also going to need 1 egg, and we'll have to beat it in a bowl because we're going to use this and just brush some of it on the top of the bagels before they go in the oven so that the seasoning that we're putting on it sticks to them and the top of the bagel crisps up nicely. So you just want to mix it up enough until the yolk is nicely mixed in with the whites, and that's good. So we'll set that there. And we really like everything bagels, so we are using everything bagel seasoning on our bagels. You can buy pre-made everything bagel seasoning, but you can also make it yourself. So it's really just onion flakes, salt, pepper, poppy seeds, and a few other things. We just keep it in this mason jar and keep the lid on it and just keep it in the cupboard with the other spices. So our water is just about boiling, so I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of honey to it and whisk that in. The water is boiling, so we are going to move our stuff over here and we're going to start boiling the bagels. So you drop the bagel in and you boil it for about 30 seconds on each side, and then we'll put them onto our tray, brush them with the egg, sprinkle with the seasoning, and then they'll cook in the oven for about 15 minutes or so. It might take us a little bit longer because it's such a small oven and it's propane. It doesn't cook quite as fast as a regular kitchen oven. So I just set a 1-minute timer on my watch, and then I can fit about 4 bagels in there at a time. So we'll put them in. Once all 4 are in, I'll start the 1-minute timer, and at 30 seconds, I'll just flip them over and cook them on the other side for 30 seconds. Mayday. So the reason you boil the bagels is to give them that chewy texture that a bagel has. If you overboil them, I find they get really hard in the middle, but if you underboil them, they're kind of like a little bit too soggy. So that's why I like to do just for a minute. Some recipes that I've seen have said to boil for 2 minutes. I've done that before, and I just find the consistency and the texture of them is just not that of a true bagel. So I like to do 30 seconds on each side and then flip them over. These are gigantic. So the bagels are on the trays. They have been brushed with eggs, sprinkled with everything bagel seasoning, and now we're gonna put them in the oven, 425 for about 15 minutes, and then we'll check them. They should be pretty close to done. Our bagels are done, and they did take twice as long to cook just because of this little propane stove. It takes a lot longer, almost usually double the amount of time to cook. But 2 of the trays are done, so we'll take those out. They're really ugly on the outside because they're all misshapen, but that tastes exactly like an everything bagel. Better than an everything bagel. You need to try these. This is why I like to put the cornmeal on the bottom. They're perfectly crispy. Stop!
Should I make the bagels?
No! You don't know how to make the bagels. Use this little brush to, oh my god. We're going to use this little brush to paint some of the egg. No, that's not it. What's it called?
Spread, paint, brush.
No. Brush.
I said that already.
I know. So we're going to use this little brush to, nope, that's not it. Start with the honey. It'll rise in the water. We'll let it rise before it goes in the water, and bagel has, since it's different than bread, I can't even speak. So we boil the bagel to give it that bagel.
I don't know why
others can't speak. Makes them too chewy. I can't speak. Just use that little bit that I said. It's actually perfect inside.
I like the steam coming off them.
I need to toast these though because they're so hot. How is it? You got cream cheese all over your face.
They're actually really good. She's not kidding. There's a lot of spice on there, but it's good for me. I like it.
Still have cream cheese in your mustache.
What mustache? I shaved my beard. Yeah, it's pretty good.